On today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to cut this gown that you are seeing on the screen. I recreated the style on my thumbnail to this beautiful one that you are seeing on your screen. Please make sure you watch till the end. And at the end of this tutorial, if you find my video helpful, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. To manage my fabric, I'll be cutting the lower part first, and I've gone ahead to fold my fabric. I folded the front and back together. I'll be cutting the front and back together. So to determine the amount of fabric that will be enough for my A-line flay, I use the width of 50 inches. If you put it on fold, it will give you 25 inches. That's 25 for the back and 25 for the front. And for the front part, I added my 2 inches bottom placket. Can you see that? To get the full length of the gown, I'll be deducting her upper part, which is from the shoulder to the half length. So I'll place the 17 inches on the waistline to take off the half length, and I will mark her full length, which is 45 inches, both hemming allowance included. So for the lower part of the gown, the length of the A-line is 28 inches. If you measure it from the waistline, I have 28 inches in total. So the next thing now is to mark her round waist. So you divide your round waist by 4. I'll place the measurement there, and I will add extra 2 inches for sewing allowance. From the waistline, I will come down by 9 inches to mark her hip line depth. On that hip line, I will be marking quarter of her round hip. So you divide the hip by 4. I'll mark it, and I'll be adding extra 5 inches to that. The 5 inches is because of the A-line, so I'll mark it here. After that, I'll be slanting it, but before then, I'll be measuring the length of the skirt, which is 28 inches. So you keep your tape slanted the way you see me doing and mark your 28 inches. So this is the 28 inches. I'll curve it like this. Because it's a flare, the length is not supposed to be straight, it's supposed to be curved. I'll curve it to meet the 28 inches I measured earlier. Can you see what I'm doing? I zoomed it so that you can see what I'm doing very well. So after getting the length for the side part, the next thing now is to slant it this way. Can you see what I'm doing? To give the A-line flare that round curve on the waistline, I'll be coming down by 0.75 on the waistline, the way you see me doing, and I will slant it to the side. So I'll be cutting it out now. Can you see the shape of the hemline? It's curved. So I will cut it out. So I will measure the side and the center part to know whether it's equal. I have 28 inches on this side, and on the center I also have 28 inches. I'll be slashing the center front open because of the bottom placket, and I will notch it. I will notch the allowance I added for the bottom placket. The next thing is to cut the upper part. I have my front part here. This is my bottom placket of 2 inches. I'll fold it in the way you see me doing. So I will measure 17 inches, which is from the shoulder to the half length. After that, I will mark her chest line depth, which is 9 inches. Her shoulder width is 15 inches. If I divide it by 2, I have 7.5. I'll mark the 7.5 here. I also mark the 7.5 on the chest line so that I can get a straight line. For the neck width, I will mark 3 inches, and for the neck depth, I will also mark 3 inches. That's 3 for the width and 3 for the depth. I'll curve the neckline. For the front shoulder slant, I'll come down by 1 inch and I'll slant it to the neck width. I'll divide what I have here. I'll get the midpoint, come in by 1/2 inch, and I will curve the armhole. On the chest line, I will be marking 1/4 of her round bust, so I divide her round bust by 4. I'll add 2 inches for sewing allowance. On her waistline, I will mark 1/4 of her round waist. I'll add 1 inch for dart intake and 2 inches for sewing allowance. Because I'm making a dart on this shirt gown, I'll come down from her shoulder to her bust point line. So on that bust point, I will come down by 1 inch. So this line is where I will be placing her nipple to nipple point measurement. So I will mark 4 inches for that. On the waistline, I will be marking 1/2 inch for the dart intake. After that, I will slant the dart line. The 1/2 inch on the both dart line is 1 inch. So I replaced the 1 inch when I was placing half of her round waist. So remember to do that. For the neck width, I will mark 1/2 inch round. This 1/2 inch is for the sewing allowance. If I use the 3x3 I use for the neckline, it will be too deep for this kind of shirt collar. So I'll go ahead now and cut it out. After cutting it out, I will notch the dart lines. I will unfold the bottom placket so that I can slash it open. I will also notch the bottom placket. So the next thing now is to cut the back part. Is unfold. I've gone ahead to measure from shoulder to the half line and from shoulder to the chest line. The next thing is to mark her shoulder width. So the shoulder width, you connect it to the chest line the way you see me doing. After that, I will mark 1/4 of her round bust. I'll add sewing allowance. I'll do the same thing on the waistline. I will mark it and add 1 inch for that intake and 2 inches for sewing allowance. To get the shoulder line, I'll be using the front part to determine that. I will measure what I have on my shoulder. I have 5.5. So from this shoulder width, I will place 5.5. Can you see that? I have the 5.5 here. For the back neck depth, I use 1 inch. So I'll curve it. For the back shoulder slant, I will be marking 1/2 inch. I will slant it to the neck width. After that, I'll curve the back armhole. For the back dart, I will repeat what I did on the front part. I'll measure the bust point. I'll come down by 1 inch. On that 1 inch, I will mark our nipple to nipple point measurement, which is 4 inches. And on the waistline, I will take 1/2 inch for the dart intake. The next thing now is to cut it out. Remember to notch the back dart as well. After cutting the front and back, I will cut the same thing on my lining. I have my yellow lining here, so I will use it to cut the upper and the lower part. So I've already cut it and I've joined it. Make sure you iron your interface on the upper part. I've joined the lining separately and the main fabric separately. I've also sewn my darts. I lost some of the sewing clips, so please bear with me. This is what I have for the main fabric and this is what I have for the lining. I will place the lining and the fabric right side facing the right side, and I will sew the both side with half inch. Because I'm attaching a collar to it, I won't be turning the neckline. Before you touch the two sides with lining, make sure you fold the hem of the lining and the hem of the main dress. Can you see that I folded mine? So you can go ahead now and sew the two sides with half inch. You also do the same thing for the front part. So I've gone ahead to couple all the pieces together. I have a tutorial on how to cut and sew a collar. This is what I have. After turning the center front, I stitched down 1.5 inches. You know, I added 2 inches for the bottom placket. So after turning it with lining, I have 1.5 inches left. So I measured 1.5 inch and stitched it down. I did that for the two side front. Can you see what I have? I've also attached my pockets. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel for more sewing tutorials. Also turn on your notification bell so you get notified once I upload a new video. For this side that I'll be fixing my button, I also stitch it down. Can you see that? I've also attached my puff sleeve. This shirt is a fitted shirt. It's not your regular kind of shirt, so I cut my puff sleeve. This is the finished look of everything. Thanks for watching. Bye.